If you want to feel more connected to humanity and a little less alone, listen to Beautiful Anonymous. Each week, I take a phone call from one random anonymous human being. There's over 400 episodes in our back catalog. You get to feel connected to all these different people all over the world. Recent episodes include one where a lady survived a murder attempt by her own son. But then the week before that, we just talked about Star Trek. It can be anything. It's unpredictable. It's raw. It's real. Get Beautiful Anonymous wherever you listen to podcasts.
So, fun story, I actually lived 2 blocks from here
a
few years ago. I had no idea that this was, when you sent the address, I was like, wait, I've seen this house before.
Wow.
I know. It was, so a friend of mine was going to grad school in Paris for the summer, like he was doing, and so I needed a place to sublet, and so I subletted his house. So I used to work in Park Slope, so I'd walk by here on the way to the G train.
So you used to walk by here all the time?
Yeah.
This is what it's a Marge and I do.
Zone.
We do the Twilight Zone. Whenever stuff like that, whoa.
Yeah.
I was really excited when he sent the address. I was like,
Wow.
Wow.
all right. Welcome to Witchcast.
Welcome to Witchcast.
'Cause it's Witchcast.
I'm Emily.
I'm Kate.
And we're your hosts.
We're your hosts of the Witchcast podcast.
And what we do is we call ourselves beginner witches in that we are exploring the world of things that people have called witchcraft.
Right,
So,
the big, vast, wide world of everything that falls under that umbrella.
right. We talk to experts in those different fields,
Right.
from astrology to
Tarot
to crystals and Reiki healing.
to Haitian voodoo and Hermetic Kabbalah.
Right.
We're learning a ton, and we invite you as our listeners to learn along with us because it keeps us responsible and makes sure that we stay practicing, which is, I think, why we started it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And today we have a really, really special episode. I'm super excited about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have, this is a different kind of episode than what we usually do.
Yes.
We're doing kind of an interview thing today. We
Yeah.
have Emily Grote, who you might remember from season 1 here.
Hello, Emily. Welcome back.
Thanks
back.
for having me back.
From our Psychics and Mediums episode.
Psychics and Mediums, yes. And we have a very special second guest with us today, Emily's mentor, Marge.
Yay.
Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And we're also recording from the Little Yellow House in Brooklyn, which is just amazing, and I'm obsessed with this house.
Yeah, this is a really great house. We're very happy to be here.
It's adorable, and we're moving in tomorrow.
Yeah. I brought all my stuff to just stay.
I hope that's okay.
No, it's beautiful here, and we're very excited. So I guess let's get started.
Yeah,
shall
let's
we?
just dive in.
So how did you two meet? Marge, you're sort of Emily's mentor from what Emily has told us. How did you two first meet each other?
Well, I think it's your story.
I think it's our story.
Oh,
It turned into that, but at first it was just you running by the
That's
house every
true.
morning.
That's true. I was, maybe 96, 97, somewhere around there. I was living in, I might have mentioned this in the last podcast, but had been living over in Bed-Stuy. I was there for about a year, very cute little apartment. It was $550 a month, which is, of course, unheard of now.
wow.
Yeah, exactly. That's worthy of exclamation. And it was a cute little place. It was owned, the whole brownstone was owned by a person who just lived up the street. He owned a couple brownstones, and he was a corrections officer. And I was like, damn, he was so smart, buying properties in the 80s or whenever he bought them, and he refinished them himself. And he was also a part-time baker. So every couple of months, he would give me like a fresh loaf of, carrot cake or something, which
Sounds like a great landlord.
was a fantastic landlord. Not very good for my waistline, but it was lovely.
Yeah.
And so it was the 90s, so it was kind of rough. And I would go running every day. And
To be it off the
exactly,
carrot cake.
exactly. And I ran in the direction of Clinton Hill. And I would pass Pratt Institute, and it was just a different, at the time, a very different vibe in the neighborhoods. And as everybody knows in Brooklyn or even Queens, it's like block by block,
Right.
how welcoming the blocks are. Anyway, so I would come over towards Pratt, and I would circle down Washington Avenue, and I'd pass this little yellow house every single morning. And it was like a punctuation mark. It was like, I can't not pass this house.
Yeah.
I was just drawn to it. and never saw Marge. It was like 6 o'clock every morning. I was out.
Asleep.
Yeah, you were sleeping. Yeah, you were.
Like a reasonable person.
Yes.
Exactly,
Like
like
a
a
normal
reasonable person. I was working off all my anxiety, and
Word.
exactly burning it off. And then I decided at one point, it was about a year into living in Bed-Stuy, I decided it was time to look for something else. And this is pre-internet, and so
Right.
and we're going to go way back. There was the Village Voice, which unfortunately I don't think exists anymore.
Yeah, it shut down a couple years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
so sad.
Heartbreak.
Sadly. And but people who were in the know would get on something called the Village Voice line, which was near Cooper
Oh, yeah,
Union,
Cooper
Cooper
Street.
Square,
Uh-huh.
right in that
Yeah.
area. And there used to be a really large, right where there's a Starbucks now, there used to be a really beautiful old-timey newsstand. And so there would literally be a line down the entire block of people waiting for the truck to come in from Pennsylvania with the fresh
Wow.
Village Voices
No way.
on the truck. Yes. This
That's
is because there was no
I
internet.
know, that's wild. Different time,
A
different time.
totally, completely different world. And so people were either looking for jobs or apartments or what have you. And so it was pretty competitive. And so I was standing on this line, and the paper was literally still warm in my hands. That's how crazy. So I
love that feeling.
went to the back into the classified section. I saw this cute. I cut it out. I did save it. The actual advertisement. It's someplace. I don't know where. And anyway, so no cell phones. I ran across the street. There was a Barnes and Noble, and I knew there was a payphone. I must have done this for a couple weeks in a row, and ran to the payphone. There was someone who was running with me. I was like, oh damn! I knew there were two
payphone's
phones
mine.
exactly
Yeah.
were competing, and so made a call, and I spoke to a nice lady and made an appointment to see an apartment.
And you didn't know at the time, though, that this was the yellow house that you had passed every morning.
I had no
You just
idea.
saw a classified.
Yep.
And made the
And
call.
maybe it said Washington Avenue. I don't even know if you said that much.
I don't know either.
I
No,
don't know.
Clinton Hill. It just said
Oh,
Clinton Hill.
Clinton Hill, right.
Wow.
And which was familiar to me. I was like, oh, I'm familiar with that area.
And so then when you made the call and you set up an appointment and you arrived and you saw this.
my head was exploding.
Yeah, sure.
My head was absolutely,
insane.
as I'm walking up to the house, like my chin was just dragging along the sidewalk. And of course, I knew it was my apartment.
Yes.
I knew it. I
was
didn't
meant
even
to
meet
be.
her yet. I didn't even walk in the house.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is just crazy.
Yeah.
And again, back in the day, I don't know if people still do it. I don't think they do so much because everything's all online. But I had to, if you wanted something very badly in terms of an apartment, you arrived with 6 months of pay stubs and 6 months of your Con Ed bills from your previous apartment. And so I had all this stuff with me. And so I remember.
No, I think you still kind of have to do that.
Do you really?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
even,
You have
or
to have
like
it
be
ordered
ready to
digitally,
send it
right?
right
Yeah,
away.
yeah. PDFs or something,
in the moment. Yeah.
Right, click, there,
Yeah.
yeah, did you receive it yet?
Exactly.
And so I don't even remember meeting you at the door, but obviously I must have, but I remember standing right here in the middle of the apartment. It's a little studio apartment for folks that are not here. And I remember I was like chomping at the bit. I was like, I don't think I said, when can I move in? Oh, here was the other thing too. If you notice, there's a window here at the back, faces the backyard. And I don't know if that's been changed, but I had a visualization before I got here, before we met, of a wood frame window with light coming through it.
Wow.
And it was probably like 11 o'clock or so in the morning when we met. It was early in the day because the light was really pretty, and it gets super light filled in here. And I saw this, when I was standing here talking to you, I saw the light coming through the back window. I was like, oh my God, that's that vision that I saw. And I'm not connecting the dots.
Right.
Like, I'd had sporadic stuff like that all my life, but never like, oh, that's a psychic or a premonition, nothing like that. I didn't have language.
It just happens.
It just happens,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I was like, oh my God, that's the window. And this is the house. And blah, blah. Like click, 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 everything was just clicking. And I think I came on a little bit strong because I was like, we had a conversation, and I think I said, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And did that plant a seed for you? There was something about what I said in our first meeting. I remember you telling me later that was, now you're not recalling.
Can't remember anything yet.
We're going to do the best we can. And there was something that I
Same.
said that Marge said later was like, that sort of
Was
at least
a-
pushed her in the direction, because she, of course, had a lot of people to choose from, you know, and yeah, I remember I tried to give you like all of my pay stubs and stuff. You were like, okay, this is a lot, you know, I think I came
You
on.
know what I do remember? Somebody had either come late for an appointment or something, and the two of you came up at the same time. And this poor little girl, she looked at Emily, giving me all this
Thundering.
stuff, and said, "Oh, do you have to do that?" And Emily said, "Well, it's a good idea, you know." Well, the poor thing feels so intimidated.
Oh.
Hey, all's fair in love and
And
real
apartments,
estate.
absolutely, absolutely.
That's a
funny, I
zero-sum
don't remember
game.
that part, yeah. So you do remember.
And so you lived here in this on this floor.
I lived on this floor.
That's so.
So I lived
cool.
here, what, 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
2 years roughly. I moved in with a crazy feral cat that bit all of us.
Oh no.
Jumped down off the roof and came in my window and bit one of my oldest cats.
No.
Yeah.
Said, "We're gonna have to do something with this cat."
Oh dear.
What a little jerk.
Put me in the hospital on my birthday
Oh,
with
God.
an infection that was crawling up my arm.
Oh, my
yeah, no, she
gosh.
was.
No.
It was just stupid of me. I just learning. Oh, it's a cat. It's on the street. It's pregnant, and it's being really nice. And then
Aw, that's hard.
got her fixed, and
Yeah.
suddenly she became a feral cat again. That
Yeah.
was unpleasant.
Womp womp. These things happen.
These
yeah.
things happen. But yeah,
Uh,
2 years, two
Cats.
wonderful
Cats.
years, and then I met my husband, and we
And you were
had
like,
to
"Peace."
we had to shove off.
Yeah.
And I did. I remember moving out, and I said, I might be back.
That's
This
so
doesn't
funny.
work out with this guy.
Hold my
And
spot.
here
I'm
you
coming.
are.
And here I am. This is my home away from home.
I was gonna say, do you feel like this is kind of a second
It's
home for you that
so
you can always come
weird.
back to?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
agree with that, Marge?
Oh, sure. I'm happy to have her back.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, she must be the fourth psychic in the house for the people who have owned this house, because
Are you including yourself?
we met a professor from Pratt who told us that when he was a boy, he lived in Williamsburg, but he and his friends used to come down here to play. And they remembered this house because the woman who lived here had a schedule posted on the front porch of when she did seances.
Oh wow.
And that would have been, I don't know, mid, 1915s or something like that.
Wow.
And then the person that we bought the house from, there were four of us, four artists bought this house together. But we bought it from a real estate dealer. But this lady who lived here had turned it over to him. And she told Miss Carter next door that God told her to move to California. And she had done readings, I think, too.
So there's
So-
something about this house.
So there was that lady a long time ago, and then the one we bought the house from, and then me, and now Emily.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's kind of unusual.
Very.
Yes, I would say so.
Just a little
Very.
bit.
I wonder what I would love to look into the history of this house, of like when it was built.
I went down
Yeah.
and I did this for my birthday one year. I wanted to go down to the Hall of Records, building
Yeah.
department, and find out who owned it. And there had been a big fire in the records department at some point, 1900 or something. So you can't go back any further than that.
Wow.
But the odd thing that I noticed was that there were a lot of women who owned the house, and I don't know if they were the daughters of the parents who had bought it, and then left it to them or not. But I thought that was another.
Yeah, that's great.
I checked it out too, because I also, this was a brief afternoon that I had some time, and I'm trying to remember that one of the owners might have been before this lady at the turn of the century. I can't remember their name, but he's an experimental composer, and he was pretty famous.
Well,
And he
that's
was born
recent.
here.
That's
That's more
the
recent.
60s.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was much earlier than that.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, and I have his mother wrote a book about, which didn't write a book about this house, of course, but it was about her life and how she had him in what was the studio downstairs on the second floor,
Wow.
that
Oh,
room
wow.
down there, and so when her book. I got off the subway one day and noticed these two women walking ahead of me who had got off the subway, and then they stopped in front of my house, and I thought, well, they're just looking at it. And when I turned in the gate, they said, "Do you own this house? Could we come in?" And they were the ones who were writing the book
Oh.
about the mother's life.
Oh, wow.
And so I dragged
Do you
out.
remember the composer's name?
Uh,
Or the mother's name? I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
tell.
yeah. It's Sessions, Roger Sessions.
Ooh, you're good.
Wow, you do have a good memory. I don't remember anything. So.
Thank you.
The
That's
only
amazing.
reason I remember that man's name is because they associate it with jazz. I always think, oh, jazz sessions.
Perfect.
Perfect.
The way to do it.
Yeah, word association. So there's something about this house then, how it was built, or maybe the energy, the earth it's on, that must draw powerful women or people who are intuitive.
It could be.
Sensitive.
It seems like it to
Yeah,
us.
All
Yeah.
the facts seem to point towards
Right,
it. Yeah, that's
right.
good enough for me.
It's
Yeah.
certainly a really cute house.
I love it. I was saying when I got off the train, as soon as I saw it, it just filled me with joy. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, pivoting just a little bit, Marge, how did you first realize that you had intuition, that you were psychic? When did you first kind of realize that?
It probably always happened, and I just always thought it was coincidence.
Right.
You know, I think when I really started to pay attention was I joined the community council when we first moved in here. And over the years, we got to the point where we had taken over a lot that Pratt owned and turned it into a garden, and then we found out that Brooklyn Museum would rent you old movies. So on Friday nights we had movie night, you know, and. One of my friends who insisted I was witch said, it never rains on Friday nights. And I realized that I can do weather. That's how I started out, doing weather.
Really?
So Marge does
Yeah.
weather work. So
And
define what that
yeah,
means.
what is that?
well, like at the place I work now, one of the people who really trusts me to do everything said, when her daughter graduated from high school, she had given her as a gift one of these mystery boat tours, you know, for her to go with her friends. But there was a hurricane for that night, and I didn't think it was going to get as far as her river. But anyway, I told her I would work on it, and it came off without a hitch. And then when her daughter got married, it was going to be an outdoor wedding, and it was not in Manhattan, but up a little further. They lived in one of the river towns upstate, sort of. And she wanted me to do the weather. So I said I'd try. I need advance warning, you know, so I have time to work on it. And it was such a hot day. And I knew it was outdoors. And she was a therapist and had a patient who had a wedding on a rooftop that weekend. She wanted me to do keep it cool, and there was nothing I could do. It was a hot, hot day, and I think the rooftop people had to get fans. But she said they stayed in the air-conditioned little room that was, you know, until time for the service, and they all trotted out and got into their chairs, and a cloud came over the sun and stayed there until the service was over, and then they went back into the air conditioning.
Amazing. Wow. So you actually you affect the weather. You can change the weather?
I don't know.
No.
I have no idea how it works. When her daughter's friends started getting married, the daughter started emailing me or having her mother for those weddings, you know. And one of them was on a beach. And I heard right after the wedding that it rained all morning, and it rained, and it rained. I think the wedding was at 1 o'clock. Rained and rained and rained, and the husband-to-be, who had no idea who Marge was, just said, I don't think Marge can do anything about this. Well, 1 o'clock, the sun came out. There were no puddles because, of course, it was sand and the water all went somewhere else. And they sent me these beautiful blue sky pictures of their wedding.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And they said, thank you, Marge.
I'm definitely going to get your information.
Oh, he said after that, when the sun, I believe her, I'm a believer.
Yeah. How could you not? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely.
So I think it would just help for people to know you meditate. So Marge, I don't think this was on tape, but earlier Marge was talking about meditating in the tub.
Right, yeah.
Right.
And so that's Marge's zone.
Right.
And tell me about that tub. Didn't you have to bring that in by crane? Because it's
No.
Oh,
Michael, it's some old, the kids were Pratt students that we hired to work on the house. And he owned a place down on Adelphi, that had this ancient tub in the backyard, but it was very narrow. You know, it was about this narrow, but about that long. You could lie flat out in it.
A
you
very
know.
long tub.
And so they just carried it up the stairs.
I don't know why I had anyway. I had this crazy story in my head that you needed a crane to bring it up over the house. Whatever. I thought it was also very deep too, isn't it?
It is.
Deep, yeah.
It's a deep.
It's it's an unusual tub.
It's very old. It has the claw feet, and the
Oh, wow.
architect who put it in, he said, this is a very little room. You're not going to have it. I said, can you put the tub at floor level so that, you know, it'll seem like more room just because there's that space over the tub under the window. Sure, he said, I could do that. I said, let it hang down into the living room. I don't care. I'll cover the feet with bunny fur.
Make it decorative.
Yeah.
But all he did was drop the ceiling on the floor below. But it's a sunken tub.
That's so cool. And so you only use that tub for meditating, or do you just use the tub?
No, it's my bath in
It's
the
your bath.
morning. But I don't eat, you know, because you're not supposed to eat before you meditate. And so I have to get up early enough because I do all my meditating in the morning. So I have to get up early enough because I never know how long it's going to take to
Right.
lie in that tub and talk.
And Marge did my wedding too, quite successfly, I might add.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
predicted. It was like
Yeah.
an outdoor wedding
Yeah.
in my parents' backyard in New Jersey, and I said, I'm not going to worry about this. And I stopped looking. Of course, the wedding was on a Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember. And all week it was like clouds, torrential downpour, like from Friday on, and I was like, I'm going to choose peace.
Yeah.
And I just purposefully, I said, Marge, you're on it.
Trust in
I'm
Marge.
not go-" And it was a miraculously dry day.
It was one of
And
these.
then, and because it was sort of a morning wedding, maybe it was 11 or 12, and maybe the reception went till 5-ish or something like that. And then as everyone left, the clouds came in and it started to rain. I was like, well done. Well done.
Wow. Amazing.
It's crazy.
I have to tell you, your father said they'd been up like at 3 watching the weather reports from Philadelphia. It was a storm, a tropical storm coming through. And when I got on the train here in New York, it was very cloudy here. And I was pulling all the way down, you know, thinking, you know, about this, getting rid of this weather. And when I got off the train, your stepsister picked me up.
Oh, okay.
And I noticed that it was like a very watery sunshine, but it was coming through. And by the time the car got to your house, the sun was shining in the backyard.
You brought the weather with
Amazing.
you.
Did. You pulled it in.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. That seems like a very strong power to have. That
It happened because of I really think when you want something intensely, I mean, you're so emotional about it, that affects the universe somehow. And what happened was, when I was 9, my mother was going into the hospital for an operation and went through this whole thing. She might not survive. I might have to go live with my grandmother in Chicago, you know, so I was like this all the time
Jangled.
anyway.
Oh my goodness,
Thank
yeah.
you very much, right? And it had been just cloudy and rainy, it seemed to me, for weeks and weeks and weeks. And at night, I somehow thought I had a direct connection to God. I was very religious that year. And so I wanted the sun to shine. And I wanted to shine, you know, it has to. And it didn't shine all day. And I was just broken-hearted, you know. I figured I had this connection and nothing was working. And our kitchen faced west. It was the day before she was going in the hospital. I happened to go in the kitchen, and the sun was setting, and the clouds had broken. Ran into the living room. Mama, come to the kitchen and look at the sunset, you know, because I thought, well, I finally got it at the very end of the day.
Wow.
And I really think it's that need, you know, that desperation that makes these so powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, when you
And I think you're particularly effective at doing it for other people because that displaced intensity, you're working very hard on behalf of someone else. But I think because it's not your wedding, you're not even necessarily a guest at the many weddings you've done, there's I don't know. I think there's something about that too.
Being a present, you mean kind of giving a present?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would
And-
imagine that's even more difficult for to want something so badly for somebody else, not even someone you're close to or know that well, like your friend's daughter. You were saying.
It's also a noble effort, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
what a-
if
what
it's
a
my
great
wedding,
gift.
I really want it. But if someone else is really wanting it for me, that's
Yeah,
sort of a nice
so
thing to put into
generous.
the. Oh,
Right.
I dropped my
Yeah.
glasses, but
No worries.
sorry.
So you must be exhausted after doing meditation.
No, it's really very refreshing.
Really?
I mean, I always get up out of the tub in the morning feeling probably better than I did when I got out of bed. You know that feeling.
Yes.
Like you just had some coffee. You feel a little supercharged.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. And also, I mean, you're very skilled, obviously, and you've been doing this for years. So
I've been meditating. Actually, my mother and I started it.
That's what I was going to ask.
She,
you.
Yeah, how
I
did you
used to
start?
go
Yeah.
out to visit her in Nebraska every summer. And she would read, she loved to read, and by the end of the summer, by the time I got there, she would have this list of things I was to read the week I was there, and we would go back to the library and get all these books. But this was in a magazine, an article written by two therapists, husband and wife, and it was self-hypnosis, like if you want to quit smoking, if you want to lose weight. And I read it and said it sounds like yoga to me, so my mother started doing it, and I did too. And I went back like a year later. I figured she would have dropped it, and she said no, she was still doing it. So we both just kept it up forever.
Wow.
Wherever she is now, she's probably still doing
Probably.
Yeah.
And how old were you at that point when you
it.
first
When
started?
I started that, in my 30s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say you would also try to connect with your mom too, telepathically. You
Yes,
did
right,
little
right.
experiments.
We did tests. We did that actually before I ever started this business. It's when I was 21. I went home to Japan with one of my art school students whose parents had said, come home. You've been there long enough. And she
Aw.
wanted moral support. So I went home with her.
Wow.
And my mother wanted to do these. She was very interested in that at the time, and I wasn't, And so she wrote me and said she wanted to do it at a certain time, to try and pick up. So I wrote back and said, nothing happened, And she had said something about seaweed. And then she wrote back to me and said, you mentioned this and this and this and this and this, I unconsciously, I had answered everything she had.
Wow. That's
Wow.
amazing.
Wow.
So your mother was psychic then too.
She must have been.
Yeah.
She wasn't as into doing anything with it, I guess. But I think she was just interested in reading and learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She worked for a lawyer when I was tiny, and he was interested in psychoanalysis and how the mind worked.
Mm-hmm.
And that just got her started for her whole life, just chasing down all those subjects whenever she could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, it's fascinating. I think it's
Yeah.
super interesting how the brain
Right.
works.
Yeah,
What
I
it
mean,
is to be
psychoanalysis
human.
is also yeah,
Yeah.
and just how does the universe work?
Oh.
Who knows? But it's good. It's an interesting thing to explore.
Exactly.
So as well as the weather work, do you do anything like what Emily does in terms of readings or other sorts of? Do you have other sorts of psychic experiences, or is that sort of your primary?
Are we telling them about the?
Sure.
Whenever you're comfortable
Go
with
for it.
sharing.
Yeah, always
Well,
whatever you're
yeah.
comfortable with.
Get permission,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it started with your college roommate. That's when,
I
and
think
then
so.
your mother-in-law came down with something
Yes.
at the same time.
That's right.
So Emily was meditating about them and asked if I would help, and our clientele just kind of grew.
Yeah.
And we have just, we also included my cousin Joanne. I have a lot of Irish Catholic relatives, and Joanne has saints for everything. So I thought, Joanne can help. So there's a team of 3 now, and every time we get an order, or request, the 3 of us work on it.
So it's sort of like a prayer chain. So my best friend's husband had prostate cancer, and gratefully is recovered.
Mm-hmm.
And
Your mother had that unidentifiable.
yeah, my mother-in-law had some gastrointestinal thing, and gratefully that
Well, it
turned.
was
I keep
some
knocking on
growth,
the table.
that turned
yeah.
out to be
Nothing,
nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Uh-huh.
and it did. It just
Because of the
dissipated.
prayer chain.
Who knows? Who knows?
Perhaps.
So we've had quite a few
We've had
successes.
hip surgeries. We have a very intractable Alzheimer's patient that
Oh, yes.
unfortunately we can't
I don't
seem
know.
to do.
We've never taken somebody like that on with a mental problem.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we haven't had very much luck with him.
Yeah.
But the hip surgeries were good. Yeah.
Again,
There was-
definitely going to hit you guys up later.
Absolutely.
My father's about to have hip replacement surgery in
Really?
a couple weeks. Yeah,
Send
yeah,
me
yeah.
an email.
I
Give me
will.
The, give me
I
the
will.
deets. Give me the deets.
That's so great. So what is that experience like? I mean, with as much as you're willing to divulge.
Well, Marge does all her work in the tub. At this point, gratefully, I don't have as many requests as I did about a year ago or a couple years ago, whenever we started, but Marge is, better connected to more folks in need. And so Marge will send me an email. We've got a new person to work on. She'll give me some of the information. And I basically just honestly do like a 1-minute meditation on their behalf. And it's sometimes I'm conjuring a good outcome or a positive whatever, and then sometimes something, so for example, this person who just had a hip replacement, I saw him sort of doing
Elvis.
I saw an Elvis
Gyrating.
gyration, and so something spontaneous might come up.
You're right.
So yeah, that's basically it.
And you do only meditate in the tub. You don't meditate outside of the tub at all?
I suppose sometimes on the subway I just can't stop, working on it. But yeah, I try to limit it to. My mother said water, or somebody said water is
very
a
conductive.
Mhm.
Yeah,
conductor, of,
Yeah.
and thoughts are. What are they?
electromagnetic.
Yeah,
something. or
something.
other, yeah.
Yeah.
That
makes
could be
sense. I
affected.
feel like I've
Yeah.
heard that before. So, as much as again you're willing to divulge, when you say meditate, what is your process like? I've been actually trying to start meditation myself, and it's very hard. I keep falling asleep.
Mm.
That's good for
That's
you.
good
too.
for you.
Is
If
it?
you
It's
need to
good for you.
sleep, it's good for you.
Submit to it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
I mean, I
okay.
do.
Yeah.
I conk out, but I've been trying to do it every moment I can. But so, do you feel like you're having, like you were saying, do you try and visualize specific things? Do you feel like you just allow voices or thoughts to come to you? What's that process like?
That's a great question.
Well, it started out with that good
Exercise,
housekeeping
right.
article, with,
Your
with those two
hypnosis,
therapists
yeah.
telling you to count yourself down and tell yourself you were going to be giving yourself instructions and you would comply with them because they would be beneficial. And I don't go through that whole speech anymore, but I do count myself down so that to what I always hope is an alpha level. And it depends on the person I'm working with. One of our patients was going to Houston where they have an experimental cancer program, research program going on, and he signed up for it. And I happen to know that a cousin-in-law of mine had also been down there. So when I worked on Richie, I sent Tony down to keep him company and talk about what he had been through and how it works. And this had a real funny ending because I was his cousin, Richie's cousin in North Carolina had asked me to do this for Richie because he's their favorite cousin. So I would Tony would visit Richie every morning, in Houston, and I would just see the room and see them talking. And one morning, I set them up, as usual, and all of a sudden, it was like the room had a wall coming this way. There wasn't any wall, but anyway, a whole lot of pieces of paper started from the back being pasted really fast, like a hurricane, just paste, and coming forward. And I thought, what is happening? And I'm going to have to stop because they're going to cover this up. When they get to the front, they're going to cover the room up, and I don't know what this is about, so I just stopped. And I wrote to Bunny and said to her that this is what happened, and I don't know why. And she said, they have moved Richie out of the hospital into an adjoining building that's like a hotel or something, rooms, He has been discharged. And it wasn't until 2 days later that I was trying to describe to somebody what those papers look like, because they were little rectangular things. And I said, you know, they look like those receipts you get at checkout counters. And then I said, checkout.
This is discharge paper.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
So my subconscious has a really funny sense of humor,
Yeah.
but I have to figure it out. Sometimes it takes me
that's-
2 days
Yeah,
to
but
get it.
that's very common though. The symbolism is very, very common.
That's such a
Yeah.
strong image.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It
So-
was startling.
So when you say that they were meeting, they were actually physically meeting in person every morning, and then you were seeing them from your tub.
No, I sent Tony down there. He wasn't really there.
Oh,
Richie
you were,
was there.
You were
I,
visualizing
Placing
him.
someone.
I
there.
knew Tony had been in that place and could talk to this guy on a, buddy level,
Yeah.
and I wanted him to have the company.
That's
so
beautiful.
I made that whole thing up. So
Uh-huh.
it was like making your own
Little
movie.
conjuring,
Mhm.
but then something spontaneously happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Took you by surprise.
That's amazing.
I have to tell this little funny story because this just happened in the last 3 months or 4 months or so. So Marge and I just recently found a spiritual center that we've been going to every Sunday. It's like kind of like a church, but it's not. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. That's another podcast. And so we came over to pick you up. It was Sunday morning, and the Saturday before, my husband and I had just torn the house up, cleaning, and we were pounding. Who's that gal that sings, Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? Oh, what's her name?
Oh, Janis Joplin?
Thank you.
Okay.
So we were pounding Janis Joplin on like rotate for 8 solid hours that day. You got in the car on Sunday, and what did you say? You said, I can't get this song out of my head. And it was
Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes?
I don't know what that was. It was a little trippy.
The window?
Is that, you need to check it?
Oh, I'm obliged.
Okay.
What was that? It sounded like something.
Did you have a
foul.
door open or a window open downstairs? It sounded like a window
Yeah, it did.
closing.
I bet I know. I have the windows open and one of those glass doors slammed
might have.
shut.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Just the wind.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, but I love that
That's
within
so
24
funny.
hours, Marge was like beep 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 beep. Just totally
Janis
picked
Joplin.
up the
Yeah.
signal. You couldn't shake that song.
It was a very loud signal. See,
Very loud.
you both are incredibly sensitive. That's, I mean,
And I
It's
think there's some that happened
fascinating.
once before with my kids. There was this is sort of very random, but in my bedroom, we're on the parlor floor of a brownstone, and so the old fireplace is all covered up. It's all sheetrocked, so we just got this big expansive wall behind our bed. And for the longest time, I thought to myself, I really need to get a wall cling or create something to put some artwork because I didn't want a headboard or anything traditional. And I kept thinking those NASA photographs of the Hubble from the Hubble Space Telescope would just be perfect. I could get this thing gigantically printed and put that on the wall. And then within a couple of months, and I would think about it not intensely. It wasn't like ooh. It wasn't intense, but every once a week, I would think of doing this. Within 3 or 4 months, my oldest child, who was much younger at the time, maybe 7 or 8 years old, which I think they're more sensitive at that age, said, I think we should get a picture of outer space and put it behind your bed. And I was like, my head, I was like, ooh, I need to be very careful what I think. But that really was the beginning of a huge, and then once I started doing this work, I am very careful about what I think. There's, not only do I do no harm or at least subscribe to that approach, but even in my thoughts, it's just if I'm thinking nasty thoughts, change the subject, redirect.
that's good advice.
Yeah, super impressionable.
Yeah, speaking of that, what would you say your beliefs are?
Ooh.
In terms of where you get your information or how it, I don't know, or anything.
Anything.
Any beliefs you
Any
have.
beliefs about your work, what you do?
Good question.
The universe, the way it works,
Yeah.
deities, if there are any.
Religion or not, or spiritual.
Ethics.
Beliefs. Let's see. Well, I believed in God when I was 9, and then I got over that. When I got to art school, I was an atheist.
As most art students
Rite
are.
of passage.
Yeah. We both have BFAs, so
We get it.
But then I mean, these sorts of things began to happen, you know, and you have to sit up and take notice. So I figured there is something somewhere. That's my belief. There is something somewhere.
Well, I love that.
Yeah.
It's just broad enough. Yeah. And I would say exactly the same thing. I don't think, you know, as a child, my father's a Presbyterian pastor. So church was very strong in our life up until the time I was about 10. And then I rebelled because I was told I couldn't wear jeans to church. And I was like, why would God care what I'm wearing on my butt? You know, it just didn't make any sense to me. And that, as so ridiculous as that sounded, that really, really stuck in my craw. Like I couldn't, you know, the bells and the whistles of going to church.
Hypocrisy.
Yeah, it just, I couldn't make that right in my brain. And so I wouldn't say I lost my faith. I just was like, oh, church isn't for me. And so from there on in, I remember I was in high school and I read Thomas More's Care of the Soul. I don't have any idea what that book is about today. But that was like, clearly I was starting young. I was like, I got to figure this out. And that's truly just been my kind of lifelong quest, is like just figuring myself out. You know, these experiences that I would have, and I couldn't make sense of them. And even if those experiences weren't particularly loud at any one point in time in my life or another, it was just trying to always answer that question for myself. Who is God? What is God? Is there a God? And I definitely, you know, in doing this work, I was like, well, maybe there is no God. Well, then how did I get here? Like, because this whole experience of meeting Marge, and I mean, that was, the best language I have, I feel like a chess piece that I was just picked up and moved, like very deliberately moved in a certain direction. And so how do I make sense of that? So there's got to be something that I can't quite figure out. Yeah. And the last time we all met, I gave you ladies a resource for, what's his name? Tom Campbell. And I think he's really pretty close in that the way he describes it, and I resonate with it. I don't want to say I believe it because you have to have an experience, I think, of something in order to really ascribe or believe it. But for me, the way he describes consciousness, the consciousness journey, and he describes our world as a virtual reality, basically, which if you think of quantum mechanics and all, well, I'm not going to start quoting science because I don't know enough about it, but, you know, we are basically nothing, you know, we're just made of air. Stardust, right? It's a collection of atoms. So it just kind of fundamentally makes sense for me that we're all kind of pieces of divinity, but yet a part of this larger system. And that can go either way, right? So we see expressions of quote unquote evil in the world, and we see expressions of generosity and grace and love and kindness in the world. And so that's the team I want to be on. That's the team Marge and I are on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's broad. It's so broad.
But that, I think, totally ties into that idea of the collective consciousness. And I love that idea of that we're, like you said, we're all stardust, we're all connected, we're all part of this universe and part of this earth. Because I think a lot of modern civilization is about moving away from it and trying to distinguish ourselves as separate or better than. And I think that personally one of the coolest things about us is how we're all part of nature. I think we should want to. It's
embracing
really
and becoming part of the flow.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
you know.
We should be able to live in tandem with nature rather than in opposition to it, right? We come from it.
Yes.
Dust to dust, et cetera. Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so you said that you do believe in, and you mentioned, you know, karma, I guess, good vibes, not thinking nasty thoughts or sending negative energy.
Our thoughts are so
Do you
transparent.
so would you say you believe in that too, Marge?
Just like karmic thoughts and being careful of what you think, and except for Trump. Trump is off. Sorry, I don't mean to. That's a whole nother podcast. Yeah.
It's okay if our listeners are Trump supporters; they can just unsubscribe right now.
How did
It's
they
fine.
get here?
Yeah. Also,
How did they
why?
find us?
Yeah, that's very strange.
Well, Emily loves a saying. I came up with when going through a divorce, you know, and I would start to get these thoughts, and I would say, "Drop that," like I was talking to a dog. Drop that right now.
Wow. Yeah, so you don't send any ill will towards anyone, no matter how much they deserve it.
No matter how much they deserve.
Yeah.
No, one time in the neighborhood, the Clinton Hill Society, which wasn't the council group that I belonged to, had a house tour, and it poured the whole day. And a friend of mine on the street behind me said, "Boy, you really took it." I said, "I had nothing to do with it."
I don't control all the weather.
Right. Oh, I have a. This is a nasty story to tell on myself, but when I was in my 20s, I was waiting tables, and this is sort of like having something come full circle very quickly. And I was waiting tables, and it was catering, and oh God, it was just, well, hard, and to put it mildly. And there was a young woman that I worked with, and we were a pool house, so everyone pooled our tips. We all pulled things together, which relies on everybody working equitably and pulling their weight. And there was a young woman who just like was la 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 la, twirling the hair and not really working very hard. And this was a crazy restaurant. It had literally a flight of staircase, like down another block to get to the actual kitchen.
Oh my goodness.
It was a workout every single night. And I let her have it one night. I absolutely unloaded on her and how she was a do nothing and just I couldn't even turn it off. And got that out of my system. I felt good that I got it out of my system. And then the next, within 3 days, it was like 2 days or 3 days, I was walking down the street. I was out with my best friend, wasn't working that night. She was not in the restaurant industry. And we were in the theater district, which is where this restaurant was that I worked at. And, you know, being an obnoxious New Yorker, when you're walking down the street and you tend to give way. Your shoulder gives way for somebody else that's coming towards you or whatever. And this particular night, I was not being very nice. And the person who was coming towards me wasn't being agreeable either. And we both hit shoulders. My left shoulder, her right shoulder was another woman. And we just beamed each other. It was really weird. And I was, I scoffed. And by this time, she had passed me. And my best friend was on my right side. And I turn around, and this girl has a cup of hot coffee in her hand. She takes it, and she caps it right up against the back of my head. And I was drenched in hot coffee. And I was just, like...
Oh my gosh, she could have burned you.
Yeah, could have. It wasn't that hot, but it was warm enough.
Jeez.
And that split second it happened, I thought of this woman that I had berated. And I thought, okay. I just lined those two things up. And that was the last time I ever, well, short of losing it on my kids, but that doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
That's parenting.
That's for your own good. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only time in my life. That was for me. That was karma. Was just whoop, just
Instant payback.
boomerang.
Wow.
Yeah, which is why I love listening to your podcast and all these witches out there. And this is something I'd love to explore more. Is that where's karma in all this, right? Because there's people casting spells, and I don't understand that. Because I have a very visceral experience of that boomerang coming around pretty quick to dole out some justice. So I'm particularly careful.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that we talk to, not everyone though, but a lot of people do sort of a do as you will and ye harm none, basically, where it's like, you want to, if you're going to do any sort of spell casting or meditating on things or requesting things from the universe or whatever you want to call it, it's important to think about how karma could come back at you.
Right.
So, but there are people that do believe in doing hexes under certain circumstances.
Yeah. I know a few, and a couple of our guests, actually. I know, like, Rowan didn't talk about this on the Spells and Potions, but one of our guests, he practices a combination of hoodoo and Santeria and also now Filipino magic, and he doesn't subscribe to that. And he was kind of like my unofficial witch mentor, not as much as you and Marge, but he taught me a lot when we were in our early 20s because he got into it very young, and that's something that we disagree on, and because I'm very
but he's never had a boomerang kind of experience.
Who knows? Yeah. I don't think
I feel like we talked to him briefly about it. I don't know if it ended up in the actual episode, but when we were talking with him, and I think what he said was basically, if someone really deserves it, he'll do it. It's and consequences be damned.
Right. I think that's the thing.
I'll take it.
I think he doesn't care.
Yeah, I get
think
it. I get it.
He's willing to take the risk.
I totally get it.
But it's interesting just even about that's just about spell casting and magic work, but just in your everyday life, being nice, being karmically positive.
It affects everything.
Yeah,
everything.
that's a good. that's a good rule, I think, to live
I mean,
by.
listen,
It's very hard.
if you
but
have
I think,
a child and they've literally read your mind, like,
yeah,
you know, it doesn't take, you really don't, but you have to have the experience. So
Yeah.
me telling a story it's telling a story. But unless you live through the experience, you're like, oh, whoa, you
Right.
know, Emily's picked up a direct thought, like Marge picking up, you know, the song. Like, it's, wow. Our thoughts are things. They're broadcasts. It's like I tell clients a lot, it's like a radio,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and you can make a choice, you know, are you going to turn it on or off, and what station are you going to pull into, and
That's a lot of mental dexterity.
it's a lot.
I think that
It's a
I
lot.
feel like that must be. I think of it as very skillful to be able to do that. I think most people don't have any sense of awareness or control over their minds.
That's a great point. That's a really great point. And this is really going to trip people. And we touched on this a little bit when I met with you the last time about neuroplasticity. So we do have a choice in the thoughts that we think. It's not easy.
Right.
Yes, it takes a lot of dexterity, requires a lot of mind. That's why mindfulness is so
Yeah.
profound. It's such a great practice because it helps you sort of pull the lens out, you know, on your brain, on your thoughts, and be like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, that's not a kosher thought, or, you know, this doesn't make me feel good. And
Right.
so many of us, we're just stuck in it. We're stuck in not feeling good, or we're stuck in repeating, looping anxious thoughts, depressive thoughts, whatever they are. And so it takes Jedi kind of stuff, you know, to pull it out. And you're like, wait a minute, I am not my thoughts.
Right.
And not only that, but I'm not the author of all my thoughts.
Right.
Who knows where all this shit is coming from, excuse my French. You know, like I said, it's like a radio. And so the stuff that, like Marge thought of, you know, Mercedes-Benz song, it's like she just, boop, 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 you know, picked up on
Picked it up,
something,
right?
right?
Picked up your radio signal.
Incredible,
Yeah.
really incredible. So yeah, but once you have experiences like that, and if you do, and it just starts with desiring experiences like that, setting an intention, and then letting it go, right? You don't come at any of this stuff. I'm going to say this all the time to folks, like, please do not try. Just don't try. Just be open, you know, live a nice life, be good to others, and set an intention, and then throw the dice, see what happens. But yeah, you do have, it's not easy, but we do have control over what we think. And here's the crazy thing with neuroplasticity, and I'll let folks do their own research on it. Hansen, I think, is the author of a really good book called Hardwiring Happiness. And so when you immerse yourself, whether in stressful, let's just say it's, you know, politics, right? If you listen to politics 24/7, your limbic system, your fight or flight mechanisms are going to be off the charts. And then you add sugar, caffeine, and nicotine to that. Well, then you're all, you know, you're all over the place, right?
Yeah. I don't
And
know
how-
what you're talking about.
So many of us are like that, right? You know, and
Yes,
so
yes.
many,
Right.
so many folks are in that. So the brain becomes conditioned because the brain is an amazing, amazing organ, but it just kind of likes to. It's almost like wagon wheels in
I
an
was
old.
gonna say,
yes,
yeah, don't they
it
think of
creates
them as like
right,
troughs, like
exactly. It's
neural
ex-
pathways. Yeah.
Neural pathways, exactly. And so stressful thoughts create more stressful thoughts, or, you know, one aids the other. And the crazy thing is cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine, all of these, they're actually addictive. So this is why it's so hard to stop watching the news.
Right. Get off of social media.
Exactly.
Actually, just
Ex-
relax, or
relax.
to meditate and
Because
not
you're-
have your brain race.
Right, because then you're
Right.
sitting there and you're like vibrating, like I need another.
You're so
hit
used to
or
getting your
another-
fix. Yeah.
You're so used to getting the fix. But the opposite, the brain is very dispassionate. It doesn't give a crap what you do. It's just going to make it more efficient. So if you meditate, visit with friends, pet your cat, watch silly videos on YouTube, what is that? Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, right? Those are the feel-good hormones. Get out and exercise. Those are also self-perpetuating, and those are also addictive. And so it requires, right, pulling the lens out. I don't feel good. So you have to just kind of immerse yourself in stuff that does feel good, and don't feel guilty about it. That's the key.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Is it
that's
self-care?
And don't feel guilty about it is really the
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
the big
It's true.
one.
It is. It
Yeah.
is, because we're conditioned to work, work, work.
Right. Yeah. To
Work,
feel
work,
like you're
work.
constantly being productive and you're engaging with the society or whatever else. Yeah.
And and that to me always boils down to worthiness.
Yes. Right. I was gonna say
We are-
it makes you feel like you're not enough.
Yeah.
That just being you is
And
not
who
enough.
benefits from us thinking that way? The patriarchy,
Yeah.
Damn straight.
Capitalism. Yeah.
capitalism,
Yeah.
white men.
Yes.
And so they benefit
Damn them.
right?
Yeah.
Damn them. But they do. The whole system benefits by us feeling unworthy, us
Right.
churning and burning and grinding,
Yeah.
right? So it's very witchy to not participate in that.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Yes, I completely, wholeheartedly agree.
And so just caveat, I'm not a scientist. So everybody go do
Oh,
your own
yeah,
homework on this.
As with
But I've
every
learned the hard way with
episode,
all that
do
stuff.
your own research and
Disclaimer,
see a doctor if you need
disclaimer,
to.
disclaimer. Yeah.
Asterisk, asterisk.
Yeah, exactly. This is for entertainment purposes only. But
That's
I
right.
think I am very entertained right now. So
Good.
So would you say, Marge, that you agree with those beliefs, though, of everything we just talked about?
All those things.
All those things.
Check. Yeah. But I think you would, all this area of study didn't exist even 10 years ago. So you learned all this. Marge's reflection before about when she was getting divorced and, she had this, I don't even know, was it a visual in your mind of like
Dog.
you with like a
Get
dog
the
with
dog
a bone,
by the neck.
right?
Drop that.
Yeah. And so just drop the thought, drop it. Like it's a dog
it
with a bone.
works.
And it works.
Wow, I should try that.
You have to try, you have to keep doing it.
Imagine I'm going to have to practice. Yeah.
But over the arc of time, your brain will get the message. Oh, she doesn't want to do that anymore. She doesn't want to play with the bone anymore. And the brain then adapts. And it'll send you cute puppy videos.
Yeah.
Which is
I'm
so
okay
fun.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
I
a
bet you.
song. You'll spontaneously, when you start to rewire the brain just spontaneously now we're in these wagon grooves, and
Yeah.
we're running on these tracks, and it's
All right,
Good
let's listen to
stuff.
Janis Joplin.
exactly on a loop.
Question: if and when you do have a bad thought, like let's say it escapes out there, do you do anything to sort of belay that, or
Immediately.
yeah,
Because I get them all the time, because I'm human.
because
Yeah.
human.
Also, we live in New York. It's
Yes.
like so
Have you been out there?
every
Absolutely.
second.
It's a little bit like, I think all human beings, and this is not to belittle folks who have actual like PTSD, but I think we all suffer some level of trauma,
Yes.
and so that
would agree with
affects the brain.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter if you went to Iraq or Afghanistan or whether you went through a divorce or, something, or you lost a pet. Like there's always some level of trauma. And so, for example, healing from my own trauma, I'm getting back into meditating. I was really good. In 2014, I took transcendental meditation. Lots of money. Maybe not for everybody. But I did it really, really religiously for a while. And then I was like, screw it, this isn't working, because I wasn't curing whatever my problems were. And then I thought about it later and I was like, the symptoms that I was experiencing, I was able to mentally detach from them and choose, okay, wait a minute, this isn't killing me. I don't like it. It's not comfortable, but I'm not dead, and I can enjoy my day
Yes.
despite the fill in the blank, whatever the problem was. And so when I realized that, I was like, oh, maybe there was something to that meditation after all. So I've started doing it again. But where was I going with the thought? I just sort of got disconnected.
Oh, getting
What's your question?
belaying bad thoughts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So I went through a whole neuroplasticity. This is why I'm such an evangelist for neuroplasticity. I went through a whole program that helped me heal from a chronic illness. And basically what had happened is exactly what I described. My fight or flight mechanism basically kind of went off the rails, and it can kind of take on a life of its own. And suddenly whatever you had in the beginning is now 10 times magnified. And so it was very challenging to get my arms around that. First, to even realize what it was. And so in the healing process, what the brain has done, and I'll give you just an example, I'll be thinking the way to heal it is to immerse yourself in positive memories and just positive future visualizations, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole practice to it. And so in the middle of even doing this positive stuff, I had this one visualization of my husband and I buying a second house, right? Somewhere up in New Hampshire, in the woods,
yeah,
and on a
that's nice.
lake,
Yeah.
and, right? Oh, gosh,
Beautiful.
you're with me already, right?
Yes,
And I've got
on
those
board.
pine needles in the driveway, so when we drive in the driveway, there's this pine, right? There's crunch, and I got the whole thing going, and we get out of the car, and it's dusk because we've been driving all day, and we get out of the car, and there's a bear. Right. That's the limbic system. That's the fight or flight mechanism saying,
my
but
God.
wait,
Right.
you're trying to do something nice for yourself. Let's screw it up. Let's throw a monkey wrench in it. So when something like that, right? In the past, I would have been like, why did that happen? Why am I thinking this way? And like really kind of fall apart.
Right.
Maybe not completely, but like be undone by a thought like that. Here I am, I'm making this effort. I'm trying to, bathe my brain in these lovely positive hormones. And why is this bear coming? Because the brain is just extremely efficient. And it says, are you sure you don't want to get back in those other wagon wheel tracks?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
all. That's
That's
all that the
easier,
brain
yeah.
is trying to do.
Right.
Because it's a bear, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I just
I
had
know.
a nightmare about a bear.
Funny.
I'm not even scared of bears, but it was terrifying. Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
It's so weird. Yeah.
So stuff like that, right? You'll be walking down the street and you'll envision yourself tripping, right? Why?
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
residual
It's-
stuff.
Every time I'm on those subway stairs that have the metal,
Yes.
my brain goes, you could crack your head open on this thing,
Exactly. And it'll go and it'll
Right.
play itself out and
Yeah.
make you crazy.
I like to think of it, I call it my monkey. It's
Yes.
like that,
Yeah, monkey
that
brain.
mean little monkey on your shoulder that's like, you
know
suck.
what's gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
You're going to fail and you'll never have love or money again.
So you need to develop
Need
the
a
other
monkey.
monkey.
Right.
So now visualize the other monkey on your shoulder and saying,
Right.
whatever your
You're
dreams are.
great.
You're
I actually did. So this, I think, ties into Carl Jung's theory of the shadow self, which I'm really fascinated by. And I paint for fun, and I painted a whole series in my late 20s of visualizing my shadow, of all the like dark, nasty, ugly, shameful parts of myself. And I wanted to. It took me 3 years to finish because it was very hard to kind of dredge that up.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be able to look at it and confront it and then tell it I love it.
Oh,
It was very emotional.
Smart.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, and so ever since
Wow.
then, I feel like that's been, and of course, I've been in therapy for like 6 years, so that was a big help. And like
Yeah.
now I hear that voice, and I'm just like, okay, I hear you. It's
Yeah.
all right.
You can sit down now.
Yeah,
right?
I
You
got
can be
you,
quiet.
monkey.
Yeah, turn it- or just the
Yeah.
volume goes down
Yeah.
on it,
Yeah.
or laugh at it.
Right.
Because or smile. If you can't even conjure a laugh, just paste a smile on your face, right? Because the smile is even just the action of doing it. It's triggering a different chemical response in your body.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
But it's a process.
Yeah,
It takes
process.
effort
It takes
and
time,
time. And
yeah.
In the words of the great Billy Crystal, it's a process.
Because there were not schools like this back then when you first were kind of getting in touch with your abilities. There, you didn't necessarily have a mentor. Your mother kind of helped nurture.
She was
that
interested
right.
in it, all that.
So
sort
how
of-
did you grow? How did you learn? Just on your own, just by trial and error? Like, I'm so curious because I feel like now there's so much. If someone was interested, they could go to the internet. They could go take a class. What did you do?
Nothing.
Just what came naturally.
she was magically touched. I'm thinking Edgar Casey, and where did we just visit this past spring?
Well, that
Because you've had a relationship with that
I,
institute
I
for a long
did
time.
because my mother joined his
Got it.
organization, and I didn't want to ask her about it, so I asked Rachel because I had been having these notifications come through when somebody was dying, and I thought, okay, what am I supposed to do about these, And I thought I would get in touch with somebody at the Edgar Casey organization. Like I said, I didn't want to ask my mother. So I asked Rachel, the person who used to live here, how you spelled his name, because I was C-A-S-E-Y, I couldn't find him.
Right.
She said it's C-A-Y-C-E. So then I looked him up and I wrote a letter to the organization and got a letter back from his son. And I
Wow.
said, these things come, there's not even time to telephone these people.
Wow.
I want to know what I'm supposed to do with that. And he wrote back and said, I think you're supposed to pray. Well, I was deep into my
Atheism.
atheism, and I said, I don't think so.
No, thank you.
But one of the books that my mother had me read one summer after that, when I went out there, was also written by a therapist whose wife was a psychic, and he would use her to do past lives on his patients to see why they might be having a lot of karma in this life. And they described something that, I think this is my word, I don't know what they called it, but there are people who sign up to be what I call crossing guards, to sort of hold somebody's hand and walk them at the moment that they are going to the other side. And so either somebody signed me up for it,
That's so funny.
or I signed up for it without realizing it, because that went on for quite a few years.
You were functioning as a crossing guard?
Huh?
You were a crossing guard.
I was the crossing guard.
Wow.
I mean, I assumed from that description in that book that
Right.
that must have been my role in it. Not to pray, because I didn't understand what Edgar Case's son was really asking me to do, but this sort of made it real, like something that I could, I'm doing a good deed
So
somehow.
the information came to you in a meditation that someone was going to pass, and then within days they'd be gone?
No, this was a book that my mother had me read.
Oh,
That said about the crossing guards, and I said,
Got it.
that must be what I've been doing.
Right, but you said you were getting notifications that someone
Yeah,
was about
what were
to
the
die?
notifications?
yeah, what were those
like?
notifications like?
Oh, like when I still lived up here, one night I was sitting at the kitchen table. I think I was doing an embroidery or something, and all of a sudden, it's like that lettering on the Times building where the message goes around. All of a sudden, just one. All of us everywhere who love you are thinking of you, and I thought, who is that? And it wasn't until months later that my mother's best friend, her daughters, finally thought to write to my mother and tell her that her best friend her whole life, had died at that time. And so I was probably walking Muzzy across, and saying, everybody who loves you, everybody everywhere who loves you is thinking of you.
Oh, interesting.
Even though we didn't know she was dying. And
Right.
I mean, I was really mad at those daughters for,
Not
and
to-
they did apologize. They said they should
Right.
have let us know.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, okay. I wanted to ask, so what are your beliefs of what happens after death?
Oh,
We just did an episode on spiritualism, which I don't know if we're going to release before or after this episode.
I don't know.
I forget our schedule.
TBD.
But, we did learn about what spiritualists typically believe about the different levels of, from what our research said, that there's not just one hell or one heaven, that there's, like you said, like different kind of levels of ascension in terms of souls after they've passed. And then you also talked about past lives. Do you believe in reincarnation? I'm just curious, because I have no idea.
well, I think a lot about dying.
Me too.
Pleasantly. But anyway, I decided at one point to leave my house to Emily. So when I'm gone, her family can move into this house.
Aw.
And,
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
I know.
and what that did for me was I always tell people that before I did that, dying was just like this door at the end of my life, and who knows what's on the other side of it. There's that door. But now that I've left Emily the house, I can see a future that continues on for who knows how long, right? Because of just opening that up.
Yeah.
I guess what I really believe, though, is I took up with Seth. I don't know if you know the Seth books. He was
Channeled by Jane Roberts.
Jane Roberts, who lived way upstate New York, and showed up on the Ouija board at first, and then he said that was too awkward and too time consuming, and he was not a person. He had several wives on this place, but he was an entity somewhere else. And he said that, what was I going with this?
Seth, Afterlife.
Yeah, afterlife, yeah. That I know sometimes they asked Seth what he was going to do after. What he did was take over Jane Roberts' body and speak in his own voice through her when she was ready to do this, And then she wrote a book about it, He wanted her to write a book so people here would know how things work there. And his version of how things work there is, it's like an ongoing education. The day he answered them about what he was going to do that afternoon, he was going to be in a group studying. And they want to know, was it like a classroom? No, because we can't really see each other, but we can hear each other, And it's this, like people on the internet, I suppose, who are not really together, but studying. And they delve into other things that interest them, but they are in another space. But there are also alternate lives, which he maintained actually go on simultaneously. This karma, it's not like the past life is there, you know, and the future
Like a
life.
continuum.
They're all
Yeah.
going on in different little areas at the same
The
time.
multiverse. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know Edgar Casey questioned once when he was giving a lecture down in Virginia on Jewish history, I think, and he had his own crowd of real humans, you know, but he said just before he began to speak, this whole crowd of, I should tell them about my whole crowd
Yes.
and your reading, this whole crowd of rabbis came in and stood around the walls, you know, through his whole lecture. And he,
In the spiritual sense.
well,
Not-
they weren't there. He knew they weren't there. I mean,
Oh,
he
wow.
knew they weren't alive.
Right, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
their spirits.
And
He
right, spirits
recognized
showed up.
who
Yeah.
they were,
Wow.
but they looked
Wow.
like rabbis, you know.
Wow.
And so he asked his contact what that was all about, and he said, "Oh, they're always interested in learning something new." So they showed up for his lecture.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
That's so cool.
They were sitting in the
Oh, but what I wanted to tell them
Yes.
about this line of people coming in, she had taken a course in improving your psychic ability.
At
and
at Edgar Casey's institute.
it was at your school, wasn't it?
Oh, you're
Yeah,
right.
it
You're
was
right.
on
I'm sorry.
42nd
Yes,
Street or
you're right.
whatever, yeah.
I'm flopping.
And
them.
then she graduated, and then she told me that they had graduates do readings, you know, at night. If you wanted to go, you put like $1 on the table, you know. And she said you don't know how big a crowd, and sometimes they'll have something to say to everybody, and some days they won't. And I said, oh sure, I'd like to do that. So we went in and sat down, and they had the man who introduced them who ran the school, I think, and then a man and a woman who were picking up things to say to people. And the man turned to me and said, I have something to tell you. Would you like to hear it? And she said, they always ask you, you know. And I said, oh, yes, of course. And he said, when you two came in, an army came in with you, and they stood all around these walls, and they know you have a problem, and they want to help you with it. And I was just intensely involved with the medical treatments for my boss, who had cancer. She had had it for years, some kind of, I don't know what kind it was, something in her bones, you know, and things were disintegrating, and she had to go for lots of treatments and everything. And I just was so grateful, whoever they were, that they wanted to help me, that after that, every time Paul and I went on an appointment where she had to be slid into one of those things, you know, and
MRIs or what have you.
yeah, I would have to leave the room because that stuff is dangerous, you know. But I would say, "You guys stay in here. It's not going to bother you. Not going to bother you a bit."
You're
Hold down the
radiated.
fort. I'll
Yeah.
be back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
So-
that when you first kind of got involved in helping with healing? Like,
No, I really think Paula instigated this whole thing of us being able to do that. That it was just so intense, you know, my feelings about it and what I wanted, and I was so grateful for the help. And
They were very, very close. It's a
yeah,
small
it
office
just
that Marge
got
works at.
closer and closer and closer, and she did die, you know, but something wonderful happened the day she died, and I just thought she did that, you know, to say goodbye, and
What was that wonderful thing?
oh, I had told her I could only, they had moved her way up to the top of the Bronx, which is a long way from here. And I had told her when she was in Manhattan, I would go like every day, every other day after work and on the weekends. And I said, I'm really only going to be able to come like once a week and on the weekends, you know. I got a call from her niece who said on a Saturday morning that they had called and said she would be dead by the end of the weekend. And I said, I'm out of here, you know. And everything went wrong. None of the east side trains were running. You know, I had to go up the west side and run. And the bus that I wanted was leaving. I could see it across the park. So I got on another bus that just said Bronx, and I asked the man if I could change somewhere to that bus. I don't know anything about the Bronx. I live in Queens. So thank you. But a lady on the bus said, yes, there is a place, I'll tell you where to get off, and you can catch that other bus, because otherwise I didn't know where I would be. you know. But we got to a point where both the buses had to stop. They had stops at like at different ends of a block, and I realized the bus I missed was stopped at the corner. And I just jumped off the bus and sprained my ankle, hopped all the way up to that other corner, and luckily a pedestrian who was waiting to cross told the bus driver, wait for her, there's somebody coming to get on the bus. So I said, I'll wait. I wanted to catch you at the
other
meeting. Anyway, then I knew where I was going, and I worked on my ankle all the way up there, that I would be able to walk when I got off the bus. And she really wasn't conscious, but I held her hand and I sang all the songs that we knew. Her father had been a composer, and he had written a popular song that somebody stole from him in Tin Pan Alley, and they put it out. It was such a big hit that I learned it in high school in Chicago. And her father never got a thing out of that.
Oh.
But I mean, I used to sing that to her, you know, and a song that her mother used to sing. I sang it at work one time about Carmen Carmela. Her mother liked that because she had changed her name to Carmel. And so she used to sing that song. And when I sang it, Paula said, are those the right words? Because my mother said, I said, yeah, I learned it in Spanish class. So anyway, I sang her every song I could, and then I said to her, I have to go, you know. It was winter and it was getting dark, and I said, I don't want to get home really late. It was like 2 hours trip. And I said, I really have to go, Paula. So I said goodbye. I told her I loved her, and I went and got on the bus. And the bus the bus from the Bronx traveled on some raised highway almost all the way to Manhattan. So I was sitting on the left side of the bus and could see the sunset, and it was a cloudy day, so it wasn't like the sun and colored clouds, but it was these rays that came out like in a Venetian blind or something, went all the way to the horizon, and every time the bus turned or anything, I could see that sunset all the way till we got to Manhattan, and then we got into Manhattan and down, and then by the time I got off at 23rd Street, it was black, you know, and it would have been like I told her I had to catch the 5 o'clock bus, so I got to Manhattan at 6. I got home at 7, and there was a message from her niece on my machine that they called her. Paula had died at 6 o'clock after the sun went down, you know. And it wasn't until 2 days later, it was like the 2 days with all those pieces of paper, you know, the checkout paper. 2 days later, I realized this was the song, the Spanish song that I sang to Paula. That was what that sun was all about, because it says, Así cual mueren en occidente, thus when dies in the west, los tibios rayos del astro rey, the long rays of the sun king, así murieran mis ilusiones, thus also die my illusions, así extinguido se va mi fe, thus is extinguished and goes my faith.
Wow.
And that was the sunset, and that was the song.
That's
and she
amazing.
gave that to me as a
Wow.
going away present.
Were you saying that you had sung that song that evening for her?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we always sang it.
Wow.
Ugh,
That's incredible.
thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful. I'm sorry, I'm crying.
Let the record show that Kate is crying a
Actually,
little
I'm
bit.
crying. Oh, that's beautiful.
It was beautiful. I was so
Yeah.
What a
grateful.
gift.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And to then have that 2 days later realization, it's almost like a second gift in a way.
That's right.
Of like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
that's how I really think that our healing powers came from Paula's
Probably.
intentions
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love that.
That's really
so
nice.
beautiful.
Yeah, very beautiful.
That's great.
And I'm so glad you got Marge singing.
Yes,
know,
what
we're
a
so
beautiful
lucky.
voice you
Marge
have.
is of the
Thank you.
generation where they memorized poems and songs, and I envy your catalog
I know.
that you are just walking around with. It's amazing.
Yes, your mind is
I wanted to ask
still
you,
trapped.
while we're on the subject of afterlife, you had a dream, and if you don't mind sharing it, and you be the judge of this, but
If I can remember it.
yeah, but you had told, this is where I was going, you had told me a story about a dream you had, and all I've got is this fragment of memory is red stained glass. If you wouldn't, does that ring any bells?
That's
It
when
had
I
something
was
to do with your mother. I
waiting
think.
for my mother to come back. Yeah, I assume that, I don't assume, I mean, even my animals have done it. They come back for closure in a dream, you know, after they're gone. So, my mother lived in a mobile home town, sort of. And the senior citizen lived on one side, and the people with little children lived way on the other side. But anyway, when I came back to Brooklyn, I dreamed every night that I was waiting all night long for my mother in her house, you know. And I would get up in the morning just furious because she never showed up. And this went on for, I don't know when I got sick of it. I'm not doing this anymore, you know, forget about it. Well, 2 years later, I had a dream that I was in a room probably about this big, but it was all glass. And I had the feeling that my mother was there, except she wasn't I couldn't see her. I just felt she was there. And this room was out where the universal winds are blowing all the time and blowing things around. And this room was attached by an umbilical cord at that end to the earth. I was way out from the earth, but I was on this life support, sort of. And I was just entranced with these things blowing by. And what went by was this huge, like 12-foot ruby glass column. And I thought, I want that. I want that. And it came down right next to me. And I saw 2 more of them, and I wanted those too. And when I got 3 of them, I thought, I better stop with 3. and I was in therapy at the time. My therapist said, why did you stop? I said, because it's a 3-dimensional world, you know, as though that's the answer. Anyway, my mother explained to me that I was right and my father was right. We always had this sort of so what attitude about him especially, about working toward things, you know. Whatever happens, you know, and my mother was not a whatever happens sort of person. You had to work and you had to plan and mostly you had to worry. You had to worry all the time about what if, you know. But she was there to tell me that I was right in this belief and that your heart's desires come to you.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry and work, and all you have to do is say, want that? and that was the explanation.
I'm so glad that's now on tape.
Yes, that's beautiful.
But what I love is that you were waiting for your mom to show up, getting pissed, you know, that she wasn't showing up, and then when you finally said, "Oh, turned it off and put the bone down,"
Yes,
you know?
right. But it was 2 years. She
Yeah,
took 2
wow.
But she told me one time when she was still alive that she had read that sometimes people on the other side have trouble getting through, you know. And she said it's like there's a line waiting for the telephone.
I love it.
There's cues even in the afterlife.
Right.
And if you cut in line, you're in trouble in the afterlife too.
And this plan of mine is that, and I got it from a neighbor who did this on the street coming from choir practice one night. She collapsed on the street, not her, my neighbor.
This friend.
And I don't know if I mean, they took her right to Brooklyn Hospital, but I'm not sure at what point she actually left this world. But my plan is to do the same thing because I figure I'll be living alone, you know. Nobody will know if I want people to know, you know, and not by the smell.
Right, ideally.
Somebody's been lying around in this house. To find me on the street and take me to Brooklyn Hospital. And the plan is that I will have this little plastic bracelet, which I don't know when I'm going to buy that. But it will have her name and phone number on, and they will call Emily, and I will hang around long enough to say goodbye to Emily.
Aw.
Yeah.
You'd better.
That's the
lovely
plan.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
And I don't know why it shouldn't happen when that's what I want.
Well, like the ruby glass.
Right.
Just let it
Just
go.
I want it.
Just want it.
Just how many years ago did
What?
Beverly reach out to me? Maybe 3 or 4 years
Yeah,
ago?
I would say 4 years maybe now.
So I've been doing this for a little bit, and I got an email out of the blue
on your website.
from my website. A woman just said, you know, because I have a photo
saw
of
a
Marge
picture,
on my
yeah.
About page, and she said, boy, this person looks like a Marge that I knew back in Chicago 50 years ago.
In the 8th grade.
In the 8th
Wow.
grade. And
Wow.
do you think
What
it
an
could be
eye.
her? And I took all this. I was like, who is this person?
Yeah.
Right? But they sounded genuine. They were from Wyoming, so really,
Good people.
good people. They couldn't be
They
bad.
don't lie in Wyoming.
All right.
Yeah,
And
not a
so
lot
I,
of catfishing in Wyoming.
so I forwarded the email on to Marge, and sure enough, it was her friend from 8th
It was my
grade.
best friend from the 8th
Who
grade.
had been
That's
searching
incredible.
for her for all of these years.
I had told, in Chicago, you got out of grade school in the 8th grade, and you had your choice of high schools, and my mother decided I was going to an all-girls high school. It was a public school, but it was all girls. And Beverly went to the public school that was, mixed. And in those, she lived with her mother, I lived with my mother, and in those days, nobody had their own phones. There was a phone in our apartment building on the ground floor, but since she didn't have a phone, we didn't have a phone. She went to that high school, I went to this one, I never heard from her again. And, but I told her, because I've always known that I was gonna be an artist, and Beverly thought, famous. She must be on the internet. So as soon as they got the internet, she has been looking everywhere for me. And she did catch up with, for instance, my trip with my cousins to Ireland. There was a Marge Othrow in that, but she didn't know if I was that person.
Right.
And we have 62 years of gossip to catch up.
That's a lot of gossip.
Whatever happened to those boys in 8th grade?
Gotta keep the coffee coming.
We email every night.
Isn't that funny?
That's
And
lovely.
Emily and I went to visit her on this trip.
So this spring, we went to the cartoonist's wedding that we mentioned earlier. Then we saw, what is your friend's name in San Francisco?
Anne.
Anne. We saw Anne.
Fujiko,
Right. We saw, right. And
Cassandra.
Cassandra, right? We went to the Ions Institute.
Uh-huh.
And so Cassandra.
Do you know the Noetic Institute? Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut, started it. When he came back on his way to the Earth, he thought the next frontier is the mind.
Yes.
And he set up the Noetic Institute to do scientific research in what the mind is capable of.
Yeah.
And this Cassandra was the
President.
CEO
Oh, wow.
and president, and she emailed me out of the blue one summer or spring saying, I'm going to be in New York in the summer, and I'd like to meet up with a few of the people who are members, and I'm the lowest, $30, and I'm not going. I said, that's why she's coming. She wants to talk me into upgrading.
Upselling. Yeah.
So I had no idea why she wanted to talk to me, but we met I said, let's meet at Lord & Taylor's because they're closing, and they have this wonderful restaurant where you can talk for hours, And we had this wonderful time just exchanging psychic phenomena,
Yeah.
her stories, my stories. And so she said, oh, you must come to California and see the campus. And I said, I don't think I'll ever get to California. Comes the wedding. We're going to the wedding. We're going to see Anne in
You're
San
in Cali,
Francisco.
yeah.
And the Noetic Institute is just like
40
one
minutes,
town
yeah.
outside of
San
San Francisco.
Oh, cool.
And we had such an enchanted afternoon driving up there. What was it about? Was I singing? I was singing something about a rainbow.
Oh yeah, and then we came to a tunnel with a rainbow painted across it.
I mean, and it's apparently a well-known rainbow over this bridge, or I'm
It
sorry,
was a
tunnel.
tunnel,
Yeah,
yeah.
tunnel in San Francisco. I was like, oh my! I nearly went off the road. I was like, this is insane. Yeah.
And then we went to Wyoming.
Yes. and
We
then-
had been to this garden wedding, 70 degrees in Los Angeles. We got to Wyoming, snowstorm in April.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
What a trip. This was
a
all
heck of
in
a
one
trip.
trip.
It was
Like
in a
10
week.
days.
Wow.
Wow,
Just
jet
about.
setting.
Totally.
I wanted to ask about that because I think also I read one of Eckhart Tolle's books, New Earth, and I think he said the same thing about how the mind is the next stage of evolution for humans. It's not going to be a physical evolution.
Right.
It's really about a consciousness evolution, and I really do believe that.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that we are going that way? Eckhart Tolle says that in the New Earth, I remember him saying basically we're at a crossroads, or we're going to be at a crossroads as civilization. Like it'll either lead to our downfall eventually, or we can evolve. Do you think that we are evolving, or do you think that we are
Devolving.
Yes.
I think so.
You think we're evolving?
Oh yeah, I've always been an optimist.
Here for the
How about
team.
you?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
Definitely.
I
Even
know.
with all of the heartache in the
Climate
world?
stuff.
And the climate stuff.
It's,
I feel like there's always something.
there also always is something, and this is
I mean, the
pretty
dinosaurs
important.
had asteroids, for Christ's sake, you know? They had
But-
a lot of crap to
but-
deal with.
Yeah, I think we have to come upward from where we are now, that's for sure. I mean, everybody better get their act together.
Yeah.
But
You
the
heard that,
people
Marge,
who
so
are
get your act
working on it
together.
are working on it, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it's gonna happen.
I think ignorance is probably the biggest problem, right?
Yes.
That mixed with pain, that creates the recipe for disaster. But I'm reference Tom Campbell again. He talks about probably a little bit of what Seth was discussing, these sort of different realms of existence, and I don't know enough about it to speak knowledgeably. But one thing I do recall is that he talks about this particular realm that we're in is like we're not even at the preschool level. Like this is not graduate school, folks. I mean,
Yeah.
you take a look around. It's pretty clear we
Yeah.
are not. Which really made me kind of sad because I was like, oh, well, that means I'm not particularly.
Am I at the first
I know, it was in grade school.
And
at
I've
least.
always felt like, even since I was a child, I was like, please don't make me come back here and do this again. Just like,
I don't want to go
oh,
again.
you know. So I'm hoping at the very least that I graduate to some next level. But then I did hear somewhere where someone was like, don't ever say that because that's a ticket back. You know.
Don't believe
Hedging
them.
my bets.
You don't have to believe those people.
That's true. That's
Yeah, you can believe who you choose to.
I like
believe.
different thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Choose. Our minister said that last Sunday. Choose.
Yes. Choose.
Do you want to talk about tarot? And because I want to know.
Yes. Okay, so we usually at the end of each episode we do a drawing of a tarot card. Emily had mentioned that you are not particularly into tarot cards. And so we didn't bring a tarot deck. We brought some different decks that are not tarot. But I would love to ask you about your feelings about tarot or tarot cards and tarot decks.
I don't know why, but I've always been suspicious of them. Just that it seemed to me that a lot of bad news comes out of tarot cards, and I'm not really into any more bad news. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
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 When did you first know about a tarot deck? What was your experience of learning about it?
I think my mother was, trying everything, and actually, a couple in this neighborhood got murdered by the mafia.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
And my mother was busy doing her tarot cards, and so when I went out to visit, I asked her if she was still doing that, and she said, "Oh no, I stopped." And I said, "Why did you stop?" And she said, "Because it came up something, and she was doing it to find out about me." Anyway, what my life
Mothers.
was like, and
Yes.
and this murder came up, and she said, and then you didn't say anything about it, so I just thought, it's not worth bothering with, and I said, I didn't tell you about it. That's why you didn't know.
Wow.
Oh wow.
That's deep.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell my mom about that either.
No. New York's great.
Yeah.
Everything's
it's
terrific.
so safe.
Everything's
Don't worry
fine.
about it.
Everyone's safe here all the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, so I brought these. We are
Sure,
a
I can
couple.
hold this out
Yeah,
to you.
thank you. So they're not tarot cards.
Okay.
So I brought a
fun.
Druid animal oracle deck.
Oh.
Yes.
That's Marge's
I had a
thing.
feeling you would like this one. I love it. I find it very, they're very loving and supportive, and I love the idea of spirit guides or spirit animals. And then I also have a crystals deck. But I feel like you're very drawn to this
Animals
one.
are
Yeah,
it.
let's do
Yeah.
it. I feel it. I can feel it.
How good of you.
And I should mention too, and I'm surprised Beverly never found your website. So it's Othrow Originals.
Oh, yes.
Marge is an artist.
I
we
have
didn't
a
even
website.
touch on that.
I would love to see
Thank
your
you.
artwork. And we will put it on our website and promote. And also, if you're comfortable, if our listeners wanted to order anything from you and your work, like they could do it through the website, and we'll get you
Yeah.
all your info and post that for you.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, but Marge's animals
Animals,
are definitely.
animals.
Yes, I love them
Marge.
too.
Yeah.
Actually, do you both
Sure.
want to shuffle a little?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do.
While we're
I
shuffling.
don't see any animals.
Not yet, you don't.
Wrong side. Wrong side.
Oh, well, all right. I'm just gonna take the one that's on top. You want to pick one? Since it jumped out at me. Oh, all right. You first.
Do I look at it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
What's
is
your
it?
impression?
it's this wren.
It's a wren. Okay, I'm
Oh,
gonna see what the
nice.
book says about wren.
Beautiful.
Yeah, aren't the illustrations gorgeous?
They are spectacular.
No.
Oh, I love artists who can do that kind of thing.
What kind of artwork do you like to?
I majored in cartooning.
Oh,
I am
that's
still-
why you know all the cartoonists, because you're a
That's
cartoonist.
right.
I was the only girl in a class of all boy cartoonists in art school.
And did they tell you you couldn't do it?
No.
Really?
No.
That's interesting.
Oh, here we go, Ren. This book's not in alphabetical order. So
It's a W.
Emily, how would you pronounce that?
I don't really know. Troyan?
Druid? I don't
Druid?
know. Anyway,
Troyan?
the Wren allows us to glimpse the beauty of God or goddess in all things. He tells us that small is beautiful and that self-realization lies not in grandiosity, I can never pronounce words, or apparent power, but in humility, gentleness, and subtlety. Cunning, if tempered with humor and good intent, is a way of achieving great things with an economy and effort, and a rational and honest use of the achievements of others.
Ooh,
Sounds lovely.
That's sweet.
That's so lovely, right? It's so sweet.
sounds like you.
Yes.
And mine is the owl.
Ooh.
You both got birds.
Yes, that's wild.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, you can read owl.
All right. Owl. Kerach Ihe teaches us the wisdom of turning a disadvantage into an advantage.
Aha.
For most birds, the coming of darkness renders it impossible for them to feed, but the owl's exceptional hearing enables it to pick out and swoop on unsuspecting prey during the night. Twilight has been described as owl light, and going for a quiet walk in the woods at this shimmering time of twilight is an excellent way to develop a sensibility to the other world and the inner soul of nature. You may feel drawn to a study of esoteric lore or clairvoyancy. Working with the owl as your ally will help you to do this.
Wow.
Oh.
Totally trippy. So appropriate that we both picked birds.
Yes.
Yeah.
I figured they must all be birds, but maybe not.
No, not at
Got
all.
Ah.
The bee and the hare. This reminds me of an artwork that you did. Isn't that on your?
I have done rabbits.
You've done rabbits. Very,
Thank you
very
so much
cool.
for drawing
Thank
these
you
cards.
so
Yeah.
much.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you so much for doing this and
Thank you
having
for
us in your
coming.
beautiful
Yeah,
home.
thanks
and-
for having us here. One more time, what are each of your websites for people to go check out what you do?
Yes.
It's my last name, which is Othrow, and it's just one continuous OthroWoriginals.com.
Great.
And mine is emilygrote.com.
Awesome.
Perfect.
We'll post that all on the
Yeah.
interwebs.
Yeah.
And our listeners, I'm sure, will flock to you for good weather and good
How
health.
could they not?
and good vibes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for
And
coming.
thanks again for having us. Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Heck yeah!
Cause it's Witchcast.
It's Russell Brand.
Oh, yeah.
Good Lord.
Yay!
I'm so glad it came back to me. That's why we were still
And not tomorrow morning.
I know.